The state thinks a prison holds an inmate because of the concrete. It doesn't. It holds them because of a piece of paper, a sentencing document, a statute, a procedural order. The entire Department of Corrections is just a massive bureaucracy built on words. And if you find the wrong word, the whole structure collapses. Most guys look at cell bars and see steel. Jerry Rosenberg looked at them and saw a typo. On the afternoon of May 18, 1962, two New York City police officers intercepted a robbery at a Brooklyn tobacco shop. Neither of them walked out. They left behind wives. They left behind kids. They left behind partners who spent the rest of their careers trying not to think about that morning. Jerry Rosenberg was 24 years old when he helped put them there. That's not a technicality. That's the beginning of this story, and it doesn't get erased by anything that comes after it. He had no money for a real lawyer. The state gave him one anyway. That lawyer spent 11 minutes on his defense. The jury took less time than that to convict. Death sentence. Electric chair. Sing Sing. So Jerry walked into the prison law library and started reading. Not for a career, for oxygen. That same year, the state legislature voted to repeal the death penalty. But they left an exception. The electric chair was still on the table for premeditated cop killings. The state tried to rush Jerry to the chair under that exception. Jerry noticed a contradiction in how the new law was written versus how his specific indictment was worded. He filed his own appeal from death row. Written in longhand. The courts reviewed it. The lawyers looked at it. The governor looked at it. Jerry was right. The state had botched the fine print. They vacated the execution and commuted his sentence to life. He didn't break the walls. He broke the sentence. Word travels fast in maximum security. An inmate who can read a legal brief and find the hole in it is worth more than almost anything else behind bars. Jerry started taking cases. For commissary. For protection. For the kind of quiet respect that keeps a man alive on a hard yard. He filed writs of habeas corpus from his cell. He argued ineffective assistance of counsel. He found procedural errors buried in case files for years. He won. Over the course of his time inside, Jerry filed and won more than 200 cases. For other inmates. From a prison cell. Without a law license. The mob noticed. When organized crime figures started cycling through New York's prison system in the 70s, they needed someone who understood both worlds. The street and the courtroom. Jerry understood both better than anyone alive. Carmine Persico reached out. Members of the Genovese family reached out. Men whose names were never said out loud in open court reached out. Jerry filed their motions, found their angles, argued their appeals. He became the most powerful unlicensed lawyer in the history of the American prison system. The state tried to shut him down. They argued an inmate practicing law was a security risk. Jerry argued back. In court, representing himself, he won. The court ruled prisoners had a constitutional right to legal assistance, and Jerry's work fell within those protections. The state took him to court to end his operation. He used their own courtroom to expand it. Then came 1971. Attica. Over 2,000 inmates took over the facility, took hostages, and locked the state completely out. The riot leaders stood up in the yard and demanded one specific person to represent them in negotiations. Jerry. A man in a prison jumpsuit sat down across from the state's top negotiators. The state built Attica to keep Jerry silent. 6 years later, they had to sit across from him to ask for their building back. He died behind bars in 2009. Still inside. Still filing. His last case was his own. A final appeal for release the courts denied. 46 years inside. He never stopped. At his funeral, inmates from 3 different facilities requested transfers to attend. Men who had never met Jerry Rosenberg walked into that room because he had won their freedom from a cell they had never visited, using books he had taught himself to read. The state sentenced a 26-year-old to die in the electric chair for killing 2 cops. He survived it, taught himself the law that put him there, and spent the rest of his life using it against the people who thought they were done with him. The 2 officers he killed never got that chance. Their families never stopped knowing that, and neither should you.